Hello, hello. Welcome to Monday.
Is it Monday?
It is.
Yes.
It is
Tuesday
Monday.
Eve.
No. Does not work that way.
Okay.
We are starting the week. We're going to start strong at that. Thank you so much for joining us for KARE 11 News at noon. There's a lot to catch you up on. We learned within the last 3 hours the crash that tied up 494 at the peak of the morning rush was deadly.
It was. Yeah, I'll be looking closer at that crash as well as another incident this morning. There was a pedestrian-involved crash over in Maplewood, too.
Lots to look into. But first, let's get a look at the weather.
Well, what was interesting, too, is weather likely wasn't a factor, but it could be a factor as we head into this evening's commute. It's dry right now, but the clouds have since moved into the Twin Cities metro area. And guess what? It is going to be rainy here as we head into the evening commute. There's the rain. The leading edge is right along the Minnesota-Iowa border, and it's lifting northward. And this one's going to shake things up for us. Not only is it going to bring us widespread rain this evening and overnight, but behind this system, we are looking at a major pattern shift that will bring much colder temperatures to the forecast area. Now, again, we started off with sunshine. Those clouds have since increased. And here's a look at your hour-by-hour forecast. If you'd like to stay rain-free, we'll get the evening, the drives done early, because it looks like after 3 o'clock, that's when the rain showers are going to move in, and it likely isn't going to wrap up until early tomorrow morning. So a rainy evening ahead. We're looking at an inch or more of rainfall. Much colder temperatures beyond Tuesday. We're looking at high temperatures Wednesday into the future, into the 30s. And yes, it could be cold enough for a few wet snowflakes to mix in on Wednesday, but a significant accumulation is going to be hard to come by. We'll have a closer look at your forecast coming up. Cece?
Hey, back to that crash I mentioned earlier. We learned just a few hours ago that an early morning crash on 494 eastbound, it was fatal. The Minnesota State Patrol says a Chevy Malibu was heading eastbound on 494 when it rear-ended a semi at a, quote, high rate of speed. A 39-year-old woman from Hastings sadly died during that crash. The driver of the semi is okay, though. We're told the woman's identity will be released around 6 o'clock tonight. Now, if we take a look around the area where it happened, right now things look great. 494 eastbound is back open at 5th Avenue. Lanes reopened just before 7:30 this morning. But take a look at your screen. This is what the situation looked like earlier this morning. This backup started to form around 5:30, and by 7 o'clock, that backup was all the way to Highway 62. Crews were diverting traffic to exit ramp 65. I was telling drivers to avoid the situation altogether and just hop on 35E, but backups lasted well over 3 hours. Michelle Beck was there and has more on what was happening down at the scene.
We're just overlooking 494 by 6th Avenue here because of this wreck. You see that dark sedan on the shoulder. State troopers looking at it now in one of the last parts of this investigation, shutting down the entire stretch of eastbound 494, at least for half a mile here. Look at the crew members at that black sedan with the doors flung open, with the airbags deployed, and severe signs of damage up at the front. The tow truck has arrived shortly before 7 a.m., but officials say this started back at 4:30 a.m. roughly. The tow truck making some moves there to try to clean up this scene. Certainly a jarring scene given all lanes of a big and busy intersection have been closed at this time. Again, we are working to get more details about what led up to this crash. Certainly, again, a serious one and a major headache for a lot of commuters this morning.
Yeah, really sad there. We're also keeping our eye on a serious crash over in Maplewood. It happened at Highway 61 southbound and Highway 36. The State Patrol told us this morning that it was a car versus pedestrian crash. We saw an ambulance leave the scene just before 6:10 this morning. We also saw troopers on scene investigating for hours. We're told that we'll get some more updates soon.
Cece, thank you. And temporary stop signs are in place at the intersection of Highway 7 and County Road 101 following a deadly crash late last night. According to Minnesota State Patrol, a 17-year-old boy was killed after hitting the street light, knocking it down. Now, in this video we pulled from traffic cameras, you can see the car come through that intersection on a red light, barely missing another vehicle. You saw that we paused the video before the impact, but the car quickly caught fire. Personnel on scene told our photographer the vehicle was electric, which kept it burning for several hours. State Patrol is investigating. We're expecting to learn more today about the death of a woman whose body was found after hours-long standoff in Red Wing. Red Wing police say that they got a call from around 6 last night near West and Putnam Avenues for a suicidal man with a handgun. After negotiating for hours, police say the man came outside and surrendered. Officers then found the woman dead inside. Police say there is no threat to the public. We are tracking 2 E. coli outbreaks this morning in Minnesota, or this afternoon in Minnesota, the first involving organic carrots. Now, Cece, I know there are a lot of stores in the area that could be impacted by this case.
Yeah, a lot of popular stores actually. We're being told those carrots were sold at Target, Whole Foods, and Trader Joe's. Take a look at this map on your screen. The FDA and CDC say the E. coli outbreak has affected 5 people here in Minnesota. Across the country, though, 39 people have gotten sick and 1 person in California died. The recall includes whole and baby carrots from Grimway Farms. The whole carrots were available mid-August through late October. The baby carrots have Best Buy dates from September 11th to November 12th. And thankfully, they're not available anymore, but the CDC says to throw out those carrots and wash anything they touched. A heads up this afternoon, too, if you've eaten at Red Cow or Hen House recently. The Department of Health says ground beef at those restaurants was infected with E. coli and got 10 people sick. 2 of them ended up in the hospital. MDH says the cases are in people who ate at the restaurants between October 31st and November 7th.
About 5% of the persons that develop an E. coli 157 infection go on to develop another set of symptoms called hemolytic uremic syndrome, or HUS, and that's much more serious, and that can actually lead to death.
Red Cow says the infected beef was removed from their stores, and health leaders say the restaurants are cooperating with their investigation. MDH says people usually get sick 2 to 5 days after they're exposed, but that period can range from 1 to 8 days.
Cece, thank you. And new at noon, Republican Senate candidate Eric Hovde conceded this morning to incumbent Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin. In a video posted to the social media platform X, he said while there are concerns about the last-minute absentees that were dropped in Milwaukee, he does not want a contentious recount. It's been almost 2 weeks since the election, and today is the start of a post-election review in Hennepin County. Secretary of State Steve Simon is at an election office to start the review, which is a hand count of the ballots compared to the results from the voting machine or voting system. Data shows fewer Hennepin County residents voted in this 2024 election. The county said about 3.5% fewer voters cast a ballot in this election compared to 2020. Data shows just under 82% of registered Hennepin County residents voted in this year's election. Well, President-elect Trump took a victory lap in New York this weekend, appearing at a UFC event flanked by allies and potential new members of his administration. NBC's Bree Jackson has more on Trump's own fight for his controversial picks.
President-elect Trump with a ringside view of the USC fight over the weekend as the country gets a clearer picture of his picks for key roles in his new administration. Trump's latest is fossil fuel executive Chris Wright as energy secretary. He's argued that the climate crisis is a myth.
You get the truth from people who...
This comes amid news that Mr. Trump's pick for defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, paid a woman an undisclosed amount of money after she accused him of sexual assault. Hegseth's attorney says his client is completely innocent of what he calls a consensual encounter. Lawmakers also raise alarms about Hegseth's past comments that the military should not have women in combat roles.
There's deep concern, but also a deep opportunity to sort of make sure we are putting only qualified people in these jobs.
There's also controversy surrounding Trump's choice for Attorney General, Matt Gaetz. Some lawmakers want the House Ethics Committee to release its report into allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. Gaetz denies wrongdoing and resigned from Congress last week. Some Republicans argue the report should not be released.
The jurisdiction of the Ethics Committee is limited to those who are serving in the institution.
I believe the Senate should have access to that. Now, should it be released to the public or not? I guess that will be part of the negotiations.
Democrats are also blasting Trump's selections, including Robert Kennedy Jr. as Health and Human Services Secretary.
These nominations are insane and crazy.
Congress gearing up for a battle over cabinet selections. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Speaker Mike Johnson is leaving the door open to recess appointments, which would allow President-elect Trump to appoint his cabinet nominees outside of the usual Senate confirmation process if necessary. Russia is launching a massive missile attack on Ukraine's energy grid, the largest airstrike in almost 3 months. This comes as President Biden authorizes Ukraine to use U.S.-supplied long-range weapons to carry out attacks deep inside Russia. Ukraine defenses say they shot down 140 air targets. President Biden is attending the G20 Leaders Summit today in Rio after becoming the first sitting U.S. president to visit the Amazon this weekend. Before the summit, the president declared America is not going back on its clean energy revolution. However, President-elect Trump pledged to again pull out of the Paris Agreement, a global pact forged to avert the threat of catastrophic climate change. Trump vowed to spur fossil fuel production.